This is my lawnmower engine, which I took apart yesterday because I had to change this gasket around here. I had an oil leak, so anyway, I took it apart and made a paper gasket and put it all back together again. But when I took it apart, this cog here, which is actually the camshaft, this fell out, and I put it back, and I believe I put it back incorrectly, 180 degrees out, and I'll show you why I did that, or how I did that. Firstly, as you probably know by now, there is a little mark, a little dimple on the camshaft, and there's another little dimple on the crankshaft, and as this turns around, they are supposed to meet up. Problem is that the crankshaft cog is half the size of the camshaft cog, so if this one goes around one revolution back to where that little dimple is, the other dimples are over here, so it's got to go around twice. For every one revolution of the crankshaft, two revolutions of the crankshaft, one revolution of the camshaft. So now it is all the way back again. The reason why they call this a four-stroke engine is because there are four different strokes that the piston makes. The first stroke is called the intake stroke, when the piston travels downwards, causing a vacuum. The inlet valve opens and lets fuel and the air mix into the cylinder, and then both valves close, and there is a compression stroke where the piston travels upwards. At the top of its travel, the spark plug ignites a spark and causes the piston to, it forces the piston downwards. That is called a power stroke. Then when the piston comes up to the top again, the exhaust valve opens. That is called the exhaust stroke, and when it opens, smoke is sent out of the cylinder. The first thing I have to do is test if there is indeed a spark coming through. So from the one side of the coil, I have pulled this wire off that goes to the cutout switch on the side of the engine, and I have left the wire on the other side of the coil, which has a spark plug in it. Left that in there. Now I've just turned the lights off so you can see the spark. I'm holding to one of the bolts on the side of the engine, and I'm going to turn the engine. I know it goes in a clockwise direction, but the machine's upside down, so I'm going to turn it anti-clockwise, and we'll just wait for the moment when we see a spark. You can see at both this position and that position, both valves should be closed, the intake and out valve. They should both be closed. The only time the inlet valve moves is when the piston goes down, and it opens, and then when the piston goes up again, it closes. So that is the only thing I'm going to concentrate on. If you look at the two valves on the side of the engine, the top one is the exhaust valve and the bottom one is the intake valve. So let's watch the action of this when I turn the engine. I'm busy turning. That's the exhaust moving, and there the inlet is opening and closing again. So at this point we'll have a look and see where see if the little dots on the cogs line up. So here on the camshaft you can see there's a little dimple there, and it should actually be lining up with the dimple over there. So I'm actually exactly 180 degrees out. Now I'm just going to loosen up the valves. There's a 14mm at the bottom and a 10mm at the top. If you hold the bottom and loosen the 10mm one, and when it's loose enough you can actually move the rocker to the side and then pull those out. Then you can go to the camshaft and just lift it out completely. And there are the cams. So I'm going to turn it around 180 degrees and line up those little nozzles, little holes. Now I'll put the push rods back again. Tighten it up. Now setting the gap underneath the rocker shaft, I'm going to turn until that exhaust valve is completely open, and then I'm going to set the bottom to 5/1000 of an inch. Just going to do temporarily. And turn it again until this one is at the top and the inlet valve is completely open. So now that the dots are lined up on the two different cogs, I'm going to put this pen into where the spark plug is supposed to be, so I can see the action of the piston. If I turn the machine, turn the crankshaft anti-clockwise, the first thing I see is the exhaust is going down, which means the exhaust is opening up, and that is on the power stroke. Then I turn it more, both valves are closed, and the next time the piston goes down, the intake valve is opening, which means that petrol and air are being sucked in. Then the piston closes comes up again and closes the valve, and at that point it should be firing. So then we have a look and see where the dots are. And you can see that they are lining up.